Welcome to Financial Issues, where we help you steward faithfully by honoring God with your investments. Now listen in as we give you the practical tools and advice you need to become a biblically responsible investor.
This is Financial Issues, where we help you defund darkness and fund the light by investing with biblical integrity. Seth Udinsky and Samuel Case and your host, Mark Manila, with you this Tuesday morning. Mark, good morning, brother. Wonderful to be here.
Good morning. It is wonderful to be here. Tuesday morning, already Tuesday. The week is almost half gone already.
This year is flying by, truthfully, Mark. I mean, can you believe we're already 2 weeks in? Crazy stuff.
Yeah, I know. I think it's because of our partners. We have such great partners. I mean that. You know, they make it easy to do a show. They have great questions when they call in and ask these questions. They're just wonderful to interact with.
Yeah, this doesn't happen without our partners. So thank you all for your partnership with the ministry. And we hope it's been a blessing to you and can continue to be so. Hey, give us a call now, folks. 610-363-1110 is the number to call in. Again, 610-363-1110. Cue your call up right now. It's the perfect time to do it. You got plenty of time, but why wait till later in the show? You can do it right now. On today's show, what's the priority order of the different types of investment accounts that I should be using? Mark's going to give us some info a little bit later. Mark, I'm looking forward to that. But first, apparently the American dream is costly. Breaking news. That might not be a surprise to you, but the American dream costs a lot of money. Sam, how much does the American dream cost today?
Well, I hate to shatter your dreams, but it's going to cost $5 million over a lifetime. Do you have $5 million, Seth?
Well, obviously, that's looking forward.
Right. It is. Well, I just want to be a Debbie Downer and tell Seth to give up on his dreams.
I guess I just got to give up. That's right.
Yeah. So that's according to Investopedia. This is their 8 pillars of the American dream. And what they did was they gave people a survey and they said, what are things that are part of your American dream? And if anything came in over 50%, more than half of Americans said, yes, that's part of my dream. They added it. Then they totaled all the national averages together to get to that $5 million over a lifetime. This includes things like retirement, healthcare, owning a home, raising 2 children and paying for their college, purchasing new cars, an annual vacation, owning pets, and paying for a wedding. The biggest, of course, are retirement at $1.6 million, followed by owning a home at $950,000, and then raising 2 children and paying for their college at $870,000. Owning new cars is expensive, too. They say that's going to cost about $900,000 as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's true, because they're looking at buying a new car every 5 years.
Yeah, I'm surprised so many people said that was part of their dream, is owning a new car every 5 years.
Yeah, wouldn't just a nice car?
I just want to have a car.
That works. Like, wouldn't that suffice?
Well, there's just so much about this that concerns me. Yeah. Let's start with the assumption right off the bat. The American dream, 2 words defining what they're looking at. And to me, that just throws up all sorts of smoke. First of all, why is it the American dream? Most people I know don't have an American dream. Let's start with the word dream first. This is something beyond where they're at, obviously. They're dreaming about this. They're not living it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is it's the American dream. Well, I know 80% of Americans claim to be Christians, but they say the large majority of those are holiday Christians. They're not totally devoted to following Christ, to becoming more Christ-like. They really don't know if they're going to heaven or not. They don't have the assurance of a clear gospel. They haven't fully accepted the gift of eternal life, those kind of things. So maybe this makes sense under the light of the American dream, meaning the secular dream of those Americans that we polled. I guess this could make sense. But in reality, I would like to look at this. I don't even want to take the numbers apart. Like I know a few people who really do buy new cars very often, very few. But most people I know, they're more prudent than that because they don't need that. And it really doesn't it isn't worth the money to them. They see God's money as being more valuable than just that new car smell for a year and then having to get a new car.
Well, you can spray that smell, Mark. They give it in a can.
Not the same.
Because you know it's not really new.
Exactly. The psychology of it all. But anyway, my problems with it is it's more of a secular dream than it is of a steward's dream. A steward's dream isn't so much all this material stuff. A steward's dream is to find the peace that surpasses all understanding in their life. And anybody who's pursued money or pursued the secular world realizes it never fulfills you. It's never. It's always you need a little bit more. When will you be satisfied? With just a little bit more. Always just a little bit more. That and because somebody else has a little bit more, because somebody else has a better, a neater, a cooler car, a bigger house. It just the secular dream is actually a tool of the enemy to keep everybody uncomfortable, unhappy, and distracted from the truth that there is one God and he can bring peace and joy into your life right now. And it has nothing to do with how much or how little you have. It has to do with who you have as your Lord and Savior. And that's why we're here. We have to keep people focused on that. Our goal is to help people realize the fullness of Christ in their life right here, right now. Not despite your investments or your finances, but within them, realizing that it's God's, realizing that God has a path for you. It's a good path. It's a great path, and that he will strengthen you. He will be with you through the trials and tribulations, and that he will carry you through when you can't walk anymore. Our God is an awesome God. We need his peace, not the peace of the world. The peace of the world is nothing more than a numbing drug to keep us from realizing that we need something more than the materialism. We need the spiritual aspect of having a personal and eternal relationship with the one true God.
Mark, that's a great reminder there as we consider the American dream here. Hey, folks, in some other news, it looks like the Trump administration is capping the interest rates of credit cards. Sam, am I reading this one right here?
Well, he wants to. It kind of remains an open question of how he would do this. So
Sure.
Trump posted on Truth Social, quote, "We will no longer let the American public be ripped off by credit card companies that are charging interest rates of 20 to 30% and even more, which festered unimpeded during the sleepy Joe Biden administration." He goes on to say, effective January 20th, I, as president of the United States, am calling for a one-year cap on credit card interest rates of 10%. So he's calling for it. Theoretically, I guess this would require an act of Congress. He might have other tools at his disposal to get this done. But last year, Republican Senator Josh Hawley and then Democrat Bernie Sanders introduced a bill together that would limit APRs at 10% for 5 years. So I don't know if that's the origin of this idea, but that bill was stalled out in Congress for the time being. So we'll have to see how this works out, or if this is just a hope and dream for the president.
What do you think, Mark? Is this a good thing Trump's doing?
Yes, it is. Sam often says we can hold two ideas, opposite ideas, and they both can be true. The downside of this is that if they lower the interest rates to 10%, credit will get tighter because they won't lend as freely. Part of the reason they say that the interest rates are so high for people is because the defaults and the charges and the people filing bankrupt, and they'll run up all the credit cards and not pay them, and then there's certain laws in the books that allow negotiation of down to a third of the amount that you owe, and all that kind of stuff. So it will cause a constriction of credit for people who do not have good credit scores, who have not managed debt well in their life. That would be the downside. Now, sometimes I don't think that's a bad thing, because I know, and there were times in my life where debt got out of control and it was due to my foolishness, and the best thing that pulled me in was people not lending to me anymore. So that made me figure out how to do it without debt. And that was a good idea. I think that's also a good idea right now. One of the things that really bothers me, though, are these rates are usury rates. And when I say that, back as far as about when I was in college, I think the last year I was in college, somewhere around 78, the laws changed. But before that, it was against the law in most states to charge over 12% or maybe even as high as 16%. It was called usury, and you couldn't do that. Well, the government changed the rules, and then they just let the states set that, and that said that if a bank's in a state and your state doesn't have any caps, you can charge whatever you want. So all the states moved to, all the banks started domiciling in the states where they could charge through the ceiling. I think it would be a good idea to have some moral limits on this. The Bible talks about this, about not taking advantage of people. In fact, you couldn't even charge interest for one Hebrew to loan to another, according to the law. So that's really cool. I think it's a good idea. 1 year of bringing down the rates to help people get their finances back in order and maybe move forward. That'd be good. Hopefully it won't be abused, but we'll see. We'll see. It will cause some tightening, so there's good and bad on both.
My wife and I, we moved into this neighborhood. We had some experience with Crossroads Kids Club. We had served at another club. We kind of thought to ourselves, like, it would be really, really cool for us to actually bring in a club that was able to share the love of Jesus with kids directly into the school. And so we started our Crossroads at Hilltop.
Crossroads is amazing. You can learn all kinds of things about God. That He loves all of us. He died on the cross to pay for our sins. That He will help me in every way.
There is just such tremendous opportunity to reach kids in some of these areas that just aren't being reached.
Sometimes I pray every night. When I feel alone sometimes, God is right there sitting next to me. I can rely on Him no matter what happens.
Help reach kids with the hope of the gospel. Visit reachOurSchools.com.
I will end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender.
Diversity, equity, inclusion. Hiring on the basis of race and gender. You don't see the problem here?
What was once a widely practiced program is now being abandoned at an incredible rate.
We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based.
Companies are making big changes. Money talks, so why not have it advocate for what you believe in? Get started today at financialissues.org.
I found out I was pregnant when I was 21 years old. For me, I was scared, I was shaking. They do an ultrasound, and that's when everything changed. When I saw my baby, and when I heard her heartbeat, that was it. We've seen the hand of God ever since we stepped into the pregnancy center.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
Well, folks, today's show is brought to you in part by our friends at the Timothy Plan. Honored to be standing shoulder to shoulder with Timothy Plan, the pioneers of biblically responsible investing. You can check them out at timothyplan.com. And if you're a partner with us, you certainly have some exposure to Timothy funds or Timothy ETFs. And we believe that's a really good thing, Mark. It's awesome.
So, absolutely.
Yeah. Check them out at timothyplan.com. All right, Mark. So we started yesterday's investor crash course for the new year.
Investors crash course?
Yeah, I think that's what we called it.
That's a good name, actually.
Are you saying our investments are going to crash?
Yeah, I'm not trying to say that. I'm also not, encouraging driving recklessly on the road. But it is kind of like a crash course for the new year. A quick little
I get it.
fly through here. And here's the question, Mark. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this. What is the priority order of the different types of investment accounts that we should be using? Now, you touched on this a little bit yesterday, just mentioning some of these, but I'd love to hear which one is of utmost importance.
Yeah, and when we talk about this stuff, it's very important to realize everybody's individual. God has a different path for you, different reason for blessing you with materialism, with wealth of any sort, and that it should be used only to follow the goals God has for you. So though we say this is the order you should open up accounts, That may not be true for you. Let's say you're a missionary in South Africa, and things are going to be different than if you're a working person in New York. Okay, just things will be different. But in general, here's the way I would look at it. For the average person, obviously, we go back to the beginning, like at the end of last year when we talked about the moat around your castle. I know people say that's not an investment account, but I think it's the best investment you can make is build that moat around your castle, that emergency fund. Before you start putting money into any investment that may have liquidity issues or penalty issues if you needed it for emergency. So get that moat done. We're good there, I believe, Seth. Don't you think?
I think so.
People heard enough about the moat around your castle.
Well, and Mark, I think our audience does a really good job at that. I think they understand not to mess around with debt when you can and have that reserve money. So that's good.
Yeah, and now I'd say the next three, this would be in general again, but you might do all three at once. And I think most people who start investing can because they're starting to work. This might be now they're at their first full-time job since college or they got a steady job. So there are things available at work. Plus, they also have their moat around their castle built. So these next three could be done together or one at a time. And the first one is the Roth IRA. And why a Roth IRA? Well, remember, you have your moat around your castle, but that's only for catastrophic financial emergencies. What if, on the other hand, you blow a tire or your washing machine, your hot water heater go out at the same time and your pet is sick? Well, you may need a little extra money. Well, if you started investing in something like a traditional IRA, what would happen is you get penalized for pulling the money out. You'd lose 10% plus taxes on it, and you don't want to do that. So with the Roth IRA, your contributions that you put in are immediately accessible to you to use just if you have to. So you have your emergency fund, but then you have this for some smaller things if it happens. I don't suggest you do it, but the Roth, that gives you a little flexibility. So if you can, and if you're able, I would start with the Roth IRA. You have to have earned income, wages, salaries, that kind of stuff, self-employment income. You also have to remember that the contributions are limited. And that's another reason why I say get this started as early as possible. Because remember, when you put money into a Roth IRA, it grows tax-free. That's free. You never have to pay tax on the growth of it if you hold it to age 59 and a half before taking out your growth on your portfolio, on your contributions. So effectively, it's one of the best ways to plan for retirement. Unfortunately, it's limited to the amount you can put in it. So start it as early as possible so you can grow as much as you can tax-free. That's the reason for starting a Roth IRA. Secondly, I'd suggest opening up an individual investment account. Kind of like the Roth in the sense that it gives you some flexibility. That's why I say these two could be opened up together. With an individual investment account, there's no liquidity problems. You can put in as much as you want. You can take out as much as you want. There's no contribution or distribution limits or restrictions, and it's good. So it's liquid, and it can be used for shorter term things than you would like a Roth or 401k or a retirement plan or something. You can use the individual investment account for things like, we're going to need a car in 10 years, and we want to save up and pay cash for it so we don't have to use debt, because we really do believe God's warning, it's about debt. So we want to honor him and glorify him with his money by saving up and buying a car for cash and never having to pay somebody all that interest on a car or do anything like that. Or maybe it's even saving up for a down payment on a home or something like that. So the individual investment account can help there. Finally, we have the 401k. You're at work, they're offering a match. And here's my criteria for utilizing a 401k at work. If there's a match, that's one of the things, and if you can invest with biblical integrity. And I want to share something with you. A lot of people say, well, if I'm not getting a match, why use it? I mean, if I have a Roth, if I have individual account, maybe the match doesn't matter that much if they're only going to match 1% or something like that instead of 3%, I had 100%, things like that. But I did a real quick calculation. If you put $1,000 in a Roth, in a 401k every year for 10 years, and they matched it, and their match was 100% on the first 1%, that means they're throwing $1,000 in each year. So at the end of the year, you have $2,000 in there. That's 100% return. Over a 10-year period, I calculated it and assumed there was no availability for BRI investing besides the money market, and I just used 4%. You would, at the end of 10 years, after putting $10,000 in your 401k, you'd have $25,000 in there, and that's a 16% return for putting it in a money market. Who wouldn't want a 15% return?
I'd be all right with that, Mark.
Yeah, 15, 16% return. So even if you just put it in the money market, as long as you're getting a good match, it makes sense to use the 401k. So if you can, fund your Roth first and then move into the individual and 401k. That's how I would do it. And remember, your 401k in the future, it's fully taxable when you take it out, unlike the Roth. That's why we move towards the Roth first, and the flexibility of a little wiggle room with some accessibility, at least for the contributions you put in there.
Mark, what would you say about exceeding the match? So if they match 2%, you put in 4%. Would you recommend doing that ever, or is that kind of case dependent?
Are you maxing out your Roth already?
I don't know. This is why it's a scenario.
Yeah. If you're not maxing out your Roth, I'd put that money in your Roth. First of all, you have tens of thousands of investments in your Roth. You have not as many usually in the 401k. They're getting better, but they're still a lot of them are limited. You have you're deferring your taxes to the future, even though you get a tax deduction by reducing your taxable income by putting in the 401k. You're not reducing your taxes for the future. You're compounding them for the future with the growth of what you have in there. So I'd rather have tax-free in the future. Max out the 401k before you put any additional money. Max out the Roth before you put any additional money in your 401k past the match.
Mark, that's a great perspective to just kind of think of there. And I'm grateful that you said that, Mark, because I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, and maybe they have those different types of investment accounts also. They might have two of the three, or maybe even all three. So that's really good stuff.
You're going to want all four.
Yeah.
Including the moat around your castle.
Absolutely. There you go.
And that's just a money market type of account, but it's still earning a little money in case the unexpected doesn't happen. It still grows, and if it gets too big, you can always move some of that money to the Roth or to the individual investment account and give it some faster legs at that point.
Mark, my guess is a big moat is probably not the worst thing in the world to have. A nice deep moat, right?
Yeah,
deep and wide.
We did go into it pretty deep about how to develop that moat, and I didn't mean to make it complicated, but there's different aspects of it. There's what happens if you lose your job, part of the moat, and that's figuring out what are the minimum costs to maintain your house, your minimum bills. To maintain your lifestyle as you seek work, as you seek to move forward with it. There's also preparing for the unexpected, and that's where, catastrophic things, making sure you have all your deductibles covered, making sure you have money to replace those things that are coming up, like, every 15, 20 years you have a roof to replace, those things that you don't think about. We call them unexpected, but they're kind of expected, realizing appliances break every 5 to 10 years. You're going to have to replace them now, unlike when we were growing up and they lasted forever. So, there's different ways to calculate that. You can go back and listen to the financial issue shows, or I think we're going to have parts of that on the website, if we don't already, on how to develop your moat.
Absolutely. 610-363-1110. Folks, it's great to have you here with us this morning. Mark, real quickly here, the markets yesterday rose moderately as they were feeling good to start the week. The Dow Jones and the S&P 500 both hit new record highs, while the NASDAQ also rose about 0.25% in the positive range.
But Seth, CNBC was telling me it was going to be the end of the world because Powell was under investigation. What gives?
It's crazy. I know, Mark. What are we supposed to do with it? How can we not? If we can't trust CNBC, who can we trust? Am I right?
Wow.
Existential crisis.
How do you respond to something that sarcastic?
Right.
I mean, it's so off the edge there. Yeah, no, I agree. It's so crazy. And by the way, remember one of the worst predictions was market was going to be down 64% last year. In the beginning of 2025. Remember the market predictions? We looked back to see the worst for 2025, and there was some analysts who said the market was going to crash 64%. So, you know me in predictions. I just don't believe him. I believe in God, and I believe He's got control. So, and He's doing wonderful things. Thank you, Lord, for the way you help us make money into the markets. Thank you, Lord, when we don't, because we know you have a reason for that too. And that's what's really cool about being here at Financial Issues. We find peace even in the storm. We find peace not because of who we are, but because who we are in Him and who He is. We love the Lord, and I know you do too. And I hope you stay with us because we got a lot more coming up after this break. You might want to call in. The phones are open, 610-363-1110. We hope to hear from you right after this very short but important break.
In the last 10 to 15 years being in ministry, being married, something that has been constant in our lives is Samaritan Ministries. As we've moved, we've had babies, we've had different things come up, we have just been able to rely on Samaritan in ways that we never really even thought about before becoming members.
Our heart's desire is to plant roots and be in a place for a really long time. It's how we were raised. We see the benefits of that, but we also see the open-handedness of being used by the Lord wherever He calls, because we just assumed when we started pursuing church planting, the quickest way to get from point A to point B is a straight line. And with the Lord, sometimes you find out it looks a lot more like this. And yet, Samaritan was with us through the entire thing.
We didn't have to look into, we have to change insurances now because we've moved states or whatever the case may be. And it's just been a real blessing to us in different phases of life.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Colleen.
We're the Gen X.
And we're Samaritan members.
Did you know that an unborn baby's heart beats at an average of 120 times every minute? That steady rhythm, that precious sound, that's the sound of life. Preborn partners with local pregnancy clinics across the nation to help mothers choose life, providing free ultrasounds, counseling, and the gospel of Jesus Christ. When an abortion-minded mother hears that sound, 80% of the time, they choose life. For $28, you can sponsor a life-saving ultrasound and share the hope of the gospel with a mother facing an unplanned pregnancy. Hi, I'm Mark Manella, host of Financial Issues, and today I want to encourage you to give to the amazing work of Preborn. To give, just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby.
Carefully before investing.
grateful for the chance we had to hear your wisdom in that last segment there, and grateful for the opportunity now to hear some questions from our callers. Shall we do some calls? Let's get to it. This first one here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got Scott. Scott is calling from Georgia.
Hey, Scott, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, good morning, Mark. Good morning, Seth. Hey,
Scott.
I'm curious, as I'm continuing to rebalance my portfolio, and one of the FP24 is currently on hold. So I'm kind of curious if you have any specific remarks to FP24 and its hold status. And in addition to that, maybe just the whole real estate market and what you think the rotation either in or out of real estate for 2026 looks like to you.
Oh, well, that's a lot of questions, but yeah, let's look at Green Brick. Are you looking at the stock, or are you looking at the preferred stock?
At the preferred stock.
Okay, yeah, either one of those, they've done quite well at getting their stuff in order. It's on hold because we don't see the growth that we want to see in it coming up very quickly. That's the issue of that there. We're saying a hold because there might be other places to put new money, although the preferred is paying a really decent dividend. So while we're waiting for that to turn around, you're making, what, 6.2% on it? I think it's a good hold. There's no reason to get rid of it. If you find something that you feel is more dynamic, that might be, pays better or has more potential growth, I don't have any problems with replacing it. But remember, this is a preferred, and preferreds really don't grow much. So the main reason to buy it is for the income. There's no health problems that I'm seeing with it. In fact, let me double check that for you. I'm looking at the short-term liabilities. Their assets exceed their short-term liabilities, and their short-term assets exceed their long-term liabilities. So from a debt perspective, they're doing good there. I don't have any problems with it right now. In fact, I think this could be very close to going back on the buy list as a preferred.
Okay, that's good.
I shouldn't say those things so quickly, should I? But that's something we're reviewing, and so I wouldn't be concerned with it as the bottom line on it.
Right. And just that follow-up question on just real estate in general, do you see that, that further rotation in or out of favor this year?
Excellent question again. Thank you for that, Scott. And obviously looking forward, if you've listened to the show, you hear me say I don't predict the future. That's foolishness. But I think there's a high probability based on what this administration has done to bring down interest rates, and interest rates could come down more as we're seeing. They're doing everything possible, pulling every lever to make that happen, including having the Treasury buy back real estate bonds, which can force the interest rates down in the markets, that kind of stuff. He's doing more than just berating the Fed chairman to bring them down. He's doing everything he can to bring them down. So if rates come down, continue to come down, and what we have seen over the last year is the cost of building coming down. The materials going into housing has come down substantially. I don't remember the number, but it has. We've had deflation in lumber and other materials for building houses, and that means they can build smaller houses at a reasonable rate price now and still make money. So I see them looking at that and saying, we have a deficiency in housing and starter housing. Let's start building some starter houses now. So I do believe building could be, if everything goes right, if there's no World War III, if the left wing doesn't create riots across America, shut down the government, and start burning houses down everywhere, then we could see housing as a good market, actually. And as such, Green Brick would fit right into that.
Yes, sir. Okay. Appreciate your thoughts on that, Mark. Have a blessed day.
Well, thank you for your thoughts. God bless.
Thank you, Scott. Love it. And Scott's a regular member of the Friday Bible study also, Mark, so it's great.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Praise God.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. Mark, let's go to the state of Iowa and talk to Doug.
Hi, Doug. What's on your mind this morning?
Well, Mark, I have a couple questions. First, let's start with a stock, RE34. I was dollar cost averaging into it, and then it was taken and moved to a hold. To give you a background, I'm 57. I'm looking at retiring in the next 3 to 5 years, so I've kind of been changing my portfolio a little bit, so it's a little bit of fixed income from the all growth. So I saw this and I thought, okay, I'll shift a little bit, some of assets to more something like that. And that's why I was looking at the stock. But
what is your question on the stock? I guess are you?
I wasn't sure if it was still safe to dollar cost average in.
Usually when we put something on a hold, what we're saying is it's probably not the best time to be putting money into it at this time. Without any additional money into it. It doesn't mean that it's fallen apart. It may mean that it's just overbought. And that's what I wanted to do, is look at the valuation on it real quick here. From different values, from different measurements, it looks pretty good. The value based on the price to earning ratios looks good compared to its peer average. Let's see what else we got here.
Mark, it also
look
pays
bad at all.
It also pays a good dividend too. I mean, that's just something to consider with this too.
Yeah, but the issue that we have with it, and this is where it comes in, decent dividend, but their debt is out of control. That's the bottom line of it. We want to see them pull it down. Short-term assets they have great assets, $25 billion in short-term assets. But they don't cover short-term liabilities of $96 billion. Their long-term liabilities are covered, but they have some short-term liabilities. So we put it on hold just to see them work through this. And their debt is what, 457 debt to equity ratio. That's where we were having issues. Okay, that's where we were concerned. Now that doesn't mean they're going to fold. They have incredible revenues. They have incredible assets. We're waiting for them to work through that because it could take a few years. But with the dividend yield, what was that dividend yield? Like 12% or something?
Yeah, Mark, it's up in the 12% range right about now, like 12.5%. Yeah.
I can sit on 12% a year while I'm waiting for them to get it worked out, And if it doesn't work out, if their debt continues to get worse, or if they're unable to refinance their debt, which I believe they're going to be able to refinance their debt at lower rates, which will give them more free cash flow. And, we're looking at all the possibilities there. So right now we're not on we're at the end of the cliff. We're just saying, I'll sit in 12%, but I think we'll put it on hold so nobody else puts new money into it until we see that they really are on the right track with getting their debt down.
Correct. Okay. Thank you for that.
Does that help?
Yes, that helps a great deal. It was one of those where I was like, okay, I didn't want to put it all in at once. So I started several months ago, and then when it got put on hold, I said, okay, I'm going to stop. And I'll just probably wait. I've got enough in on that one and other income stocks, and I'm diversified, just like you say. But
very good. I'm very good to hear you're moving step by step from growth to growth in income, and that's the way to do it. I know we have a growth model, and then we have a growth and income model, but you don't have to go from growth to growth to income. You can slowly start seeding in the income like you're doing. I think that's very wise and prudent. Step by step.
That's awesome. Hey, Doug, can I interrupt you for just a second, brother? We're coming to the end of a segment here. Can we put you on hold? And maybe, Mark, we can get to Doug's second question on the other side of this break. Does that Doug, does that work for you?
That's great.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Sounds good, brother. We'll put you on hold, and we'll get right back to you here, brother. Mark, while we're waiting for the next segment to come on in, let me just say this, that the markets opened this morning with not a whole lot of change right now. The Dow Jones is down just a little bit. S&P 500 is flatlined, and the NASDAQ is the lone winner today right now, slightly positive. That's what we're looking like.
You know what, Seth? I think the whole world is looking at this administration and kind of just sitting back and saying, I'm not sure what to do. I think I'll be still for a while and just watch, because they're doing such great things, but at the same time, they're different than what anybody else has done. Praise God.
Absolutely, Mark. That's good. That's a good place to be, isn't it? Where we're not as concerned about what's happening, trying to figure out, okay, what if this thing's happened? And we just sit back and say, you know what? I think as Christians, that's a really good practice for us to get into, is not taking a just let what will be attitude, but also to say, you know what, God's got it. It's got it under control.
No, do everything we can with what he's given us and trust him for the outcome.
Yeah,
that's where the peace comes from.
That's good. Well, Doug, we'll get back to your question on the other side. Folks, we got a line open if you want to join, 610-363-1110. We'll be right back after this short break. Don't go anywhere.
My name is Reagan Gardner, and I am in the 4th grade. Last year, I wanted to be like everybody else. I thought I had to act different, look different, and be different to be cool. When I joined Crossroads, I learned that God loves me just the way that I am.
Help reach more kids like Reagan with the hope of the gospel. To learn more about Crossroads Kids Club and how you can get involved, visit reachourschools.com.
As a member of Samaritan Ministries, your monthly share is a gift that goes directly to a real person in need. While that share takes care of the financial portion of a need, medical
My baby was like this big, and I saw his heart beating on the screen. I went from, I don't want this baby, to talking to my child on the screen. That sonogram changed my life. I went from just Candace to Mom.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
The opinions and recommendations expressed on this program do not necessarily represent the opinions of the station or any of the program sponsors. Additionally, all products or services offered by the program sponsors may not be known by the program.
Folks, hope you'll consider becoming a partner today. You can do that by going to financialissues.org and click that Become a Partner button there. Mark, I know we have Doug still waiting in the queue for his second question, so what do you say we get back to Doug here? Let's do it.
All righty, Doug. I'm glad you stayed with us. What was that second question you had?
You were talking Roths earlier in the show. I've been self-employed for the last 20, 25 years, so I always contributed to my SEP plan rather than a Roth. I probably should have been doing that as well, but I didn't understand it at the time. If I'm going to be retiring, though, in the near future, is it really worth it or not?
Well, remember, timing is just as important as amount. If you're going to be retiring, let's say you're 60, going to be retired at 65, just ease of conversation numbers. That gives you 5 years to be filling up that Roth. You don't have to use that money right away, although you might use it sooner than you would the SEP money, because when somebody retires, usually the first 5 to 10 years of the retirement, their spending does not decrease, but actually increases. I know that sounds really strange, but in all my research, most people who retire, the first 5 years especially, they seem to spend more than they spent when they were working. And it makes sense. I think you'll understand this, Doug. When somebody retires, they now have, when you're working, you have 2 days a week to do stuff. When you're retired, you have 7 days a week to do stuff. And so it's so much easier to 24/7 for 7 days. It's so much easier to spend money, including the bucket list, the traveling you wanted to do, the repairs on the house. My wife and I realized that in the last few years, we've been doing major repairs on our house at our age because we don't want to have to ever deal with it for the rest of our life, So we're spending more now than we ever did in our life. I'm not saying I'm retired, but this job is a blessing more than it's better than retirement. I get to do what God calls me to, but still at my age, I'm spending more than I ever have because of the age and, that kind of stuff. If I didn't have this to do every day and the analysis of stocks, I'd probably be traveling and spending even more. So that first 5 years, you might spend more. It'd be nice to have some tax-free money to do it with if you could. There's no reason why you couldn't contribute to the Roth unless your income exceeds the limits that cause you not to be able to contribute to it. You could do both at this time if you have the money to do it. And I would suggest having some tax-free money, having some taxable money, and depending on what your income is when you retire, you could adjust which money you're pulling from. Also, you could do some conversion if your income drops down to nothing and you want to convert some of your SEP into a Roth.
Okay. That's always been a question there because, being self-employed, you never know when you might have a rough few months. So I've always, instead of a moat, I would consider it more of a lake around.
There you go, Doug.
I totally understand it. And I hope that I really helped with the answer, although I think that what I just did was muddied up the water a little bit by talking about those things. But it sounds like you're on a great path anyway. If you do the Roth, it'll be just another resource with different tax application, actually no tax application, to be able to resource the pool from, and you make that decision based on your income and tax status. That's all.
Well, thank you for your help today. Appreciate you all so much, and God bless.
Honored. God bless you too.
It's awesome. Mark, we might have time to get to one more call here, folks. If you call now, 610-363-1110. While we're waiting, Mark, we got Hobart is 74. And he's saying, hey, Mark, should I move my, it's actually on topic for today, Mark, should I move my 401 rollover into my Roth account to reduce paying taxes on future income? I know I will pay taxes when I move the money, but no taxes on future income. Should I move my brokerage account to the Roth for reducing taxes as well? I work part-time, so there are regulations about moving into a Roth, he's actually asking, are there regulations about moving into the Roth if I'm not full-time employed? A couple questions there.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of questions in there. And it is a big decision. Roth conversions are more about tax planning than anything else. That's what I'd like you to realize. The age isn't an issue. It just comes down to age does not restrict your Roth conversion. But there are a couple things you need to be thinking about. Conversions create ordinary income in the year that they're completed. So if you're going to be converting, you have to calculate what's going on with your taxes and make sure you don't send yourself into a much higher tax bracket, and make sure you have the money to be able to pay those taxes out of your to take care of those taxes. You don't want to hurt yourself with taxes now. So, another thing, RMDs. If you have a 401k, and I believe you said you were 73, so you have RMDs that need to come out, and they need to come out before you do the rollover, before you do the conversion. So that's one of the things. As far as part-time work and full-time work, earned income is only required for contributions, not conversions. That's very important. There's a difference between a contribution and conversion. A contribution is coming out of your after-tax money, your take-home pay, and you contribute that to your Roth. A conversion is taking already tax-deferred account, but turning it into a tax-free by selling it off and then moving it over, and the laws allow that. So, you want to be really careful. It's not just the income tax you want to worry about, but remember, at 73, you also have Medicare premiums may increase due to the IRMAA rules, which is, that happened with me. My Medicare went up in price because of my income. So you got to be careful about that. Also, state taxes, you got to be careful about that. So one of the strategies, an easy strategy a lot of people use is what's called bracket filling conversions, meaning let's say you're in a bracket, but you could make another $50,000 or so a year without changing brackets. Well, maybe convert that amount each year until or this year, and then next year recheck your bracket and see how much you could do in there without changing brackets and throwing you into higher bracket, so that those monies that slip into that get 30% or whatever more taxes than the money that didn't go into that bracket.
Mark, we have a call coming in right now actually from Al, and I think Al's asking a real similar question.
Well, let's go there.
Up in price.
Hey, Al, how you doing?
So you got to be good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's good to have you on the show. Tell me what you're thinking about.
I heard you say earlier about working and opening a Roth IRA. I am working, so I have a Roth IRA, but I know people who don't work and collect Social Security who would like to open a Roth IRA. Do you have to be working to open a Roth?
You have to have earned income. Absolutely.
Social Security? For that?
Boy, that's one of the things that's slipping my mind. Right, I don't think Social Security counts as earned income. Is the bottom line. No, you have to have earned income. But let me double check here. The laws are changing so quickly now. That we want to make sure. Do you know that, Seth, or not?
I'm looking into it right now for you, Al.
I believe it doesn't count as earned income.
Okay.
So
my next question.
No, it doesn't.
Fine.
It doesn't.
Right.
Absolutely doesn't.
Okay.
Bottom line.
Okay, right.
Earned income comes from working.
Yeah. Which, by the way, Mark and Al, that's a good thing, right? Don't get me started on Social Security. Anyway, sorry, Al, go ahead.
I hope you're happy, Al. Now I'm going to have to listen to Seth and rant and rave about Social Security for the next 2 days.
It comes with the territory, right? So my next question was, I am investing in different stocks through Schwab, and I noticed that sometimes the dividends are reinvested, and sometimes they're not. And I was wondering, am I just not flipping the little switch that says reinvest dividends, or are some stocks just sent by check for their dividends?
Yeah, there are switches you can flip on that. In fact, at most brokerages, at most platforms, you can set up your default. If you like your dividends reinvested, you set it up as a default, and then anything you buy new on that, it'll automatically do that. Or if you say don't invest the dividends, it'll go into your money market or your cash account. So yeah, there are switches on Schwab and on Fidelity and on all the major platforms to take care of that. So
hey, Al, if you need more help with that, you can always send me an email as well, and I'd be happy to help you work through some of those switches there too, trying to find those.
Absolutely. And thank you for that question. Those are good questions, by the way. Sorry my brain didn't kick in on Social Security, right? Being not earned income, but
Mark,
that happens
maybe it was for the best because it didn't allow me time to get on a Social Security rant. So there you go.
I think the Lord was working there.
Protecting us.
We have 40 seconds. There's still time.
as he's working all the time with us to help us grow closer to him through our investments, through the wealth he has entrusted to us. And I'm so glad we have partners who realize that, who do love the Lord and invest with integrity. Thank you for that. Thank you for being here. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. God bless everyone.
If we ever forget that we're one nation under God, then we will be a nation gone under.
Thank you for joining us. This has been an FISM production.